All right, Ultimate Hoops Nation, I got Jason Briggs with me. This is This Week in Rec. Your host, Izzy and Jason. Cover a couple games here in Fridley. Players Club took down Callahan Auto Park 67-63. I was not in the gym for that.
I was.
You were. Explain.
Callahan started off looking really good, just missing bunnies. And Players Club was playing some solid D, hustling, just doing just enough to stay in the game. And all of a sudden, about halfway through that first half, things kind of switched, and Callahan was just kind of disoriented. They finished the first half. I think they were down 6 at halftime. They were 5 of 25 from the field, 4 of 20 from 2-point range. And 8 of 17 from the free throw line. Doing stats, I get to know that. So, just one of the worst shooting halves in history. Second half, whenever they got close, DeBoer would hit a 3, or Brandon would hit a 3, or Gene Perry would make a nice pass. The game got really physical. Some bunnies were missed. Emmanuel missed a layup with about 8 seconds left, down 2, that could have tied it up. Calvin Bell hit 2 free throws at the end, and they sealed the deal. But it was a really good game.
Full strength for both sides?
Full strength for both sides. Nate Moore was a few minutes late, but it was full strength both sides. Cap, they were trying to implement some new offense at the start.
The triangle?
It was a lot of move and replace, so there were 5 spots on the floor, and when you move or cut, someone's supposed to come replace. And it's a good offense if you work on it for longer than 20 minutes before the game starts.
Right. So I'll get in
I'll get in the frame.
Get in the frame a little bit.
Sorry, I stink.
So, no, you're fine. You smell great. So, Players Club now has a marquee win over Cap.
And 4 wins.
So, Toon Squad, Barracudas, Knights. Losing that game would have made it iffy.
Yeah.
Winning that game puts them in. This is the hardest thing to do with 20 teams, and they're still next week. But where do you think they slide into? They went from maybe getting pulled into, do they make it up to 15, 16?
I would have them about 15, 16, depending on how it goes next week. Right. I mean, the Broncos could win, beat the Blue Chips. The Thumpers could beat the Red Devils and get to 4 wins. So it could be 16, 17. But I think they could get all the way up to 15.
Okay.
Cap's a good win.
Right. So they could be playing the 2 seed like the Rebels, or at 16 they'd be playing the Avengers if they won that playing game.
And that's 2 seasons in a row that they beat Cap.
It is 2 seasons in a row.
Doesn't matter who the big guys are, Chase and Tish or Chase and Hart. They got it.
So the other 2 more games we'll talk about. We'll highlight Celtics, Fob. I was actually about 5 minutes late to this game. When I showed up, it was, I think, 27-7 or 25-7. Then they just kept it.
Yeah, you guys made it interesting. I think you got within 7 at one point.
4
at one point. Okay. In the second half, you guys really crawled back, and then I think you just ran out of gas. DuPont got hurt and was sitting out, and I mean that was kind of the difference there.
In the first 5 minutes, what happened there?
Intensity. Just great ball movement by the Celtics, hitting tough shots, and you weren't able to handle their physical play. You were committing a lot of turnovers. So it was like the Rebels Blue Chips last night. You guys made a valiant comeback, unlike the Chips, who just kind of folded, but you could tell first 5-6 minutes the game was going to be lopsided.
And what do you think of, well, first, before we get into Fob's resume, what do you think of the Celtics' new jersey?
It's kind of like the Red Devils' red version of the jersey, where unless you're about 3 inches away, you can't read the number.
Right.
I don't know, maybe he got a discount, or maybe it looks really good in like house lights, but with the bright fluorescent lights in the gym, like I had to go by the players. Someone would tell me a number, and I'd have to look at the sheet and be like, okay, 4, that's Jason. Like the refs, they've been doing it long enough. Just tell me Jay Sam committed a foul.
Well, here's the thing: they tried to go for the Celtics green on black, but their green is too dark.
Yeah, it really is. It's not Celtic green.
If it was a little more Celtic green, I think it would look fine, but you're right. It is a little bit tough to see.
It's almost like that darker early 90s Sonics green.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
And white numbers would have made all the difference, let's be honest.
Yeah, white numbers would have helped, but then it's not Celtic.
And they're not reversible, so I don't know what
Sean Kemp Reeboks.
What black market jersey dealer he got those from, but
they look like they're
you get what you pay for is all I'm saying.
So
call Derek's guy in the Philippines or Singapore or wherever he is.
They got a good deal there.
Yeah.
Fob's resume: Barracudas, Toon Squad, UOENO, Is it good enough to get them into the top 20? Do they have to get voted in?
You're good. It's good enough to get to the top 20, especially with UOENO's win.
Because they got 4.
Because they got 4. So that's a good win. Also, Toon Squad's on the bubble with you, so that's another feather in your cap right there.
So do you think that FOB sneaks into 1920?
Yeah, with Toon Squad and Players Club moving up, or not Toon Squad, with UOENO and Players Club moving up, yeah, I'd probably say 18, 19, 20.
Okay.
I mean, depending on how the Broncos do, because they don't, and the Thumpers, and there's so many.
Yeah, I think Bloomington's a little tougher, so I think a 3-win team in Bloomington, I would give them a nod over a 3-win team in Fridley. So I'll probably have FOB, at, like you said, 19, 20. I think they're just one of the last teams to get the save from the 2 voters. Right. So kind of the biggest game of the night, or the most interesting game of the night, the Huskies really needed a win to get them to 2-6 and maybe be in the conversation.
Right. I misspoke on the website, so people still don't understand our playoff format. I said you must have 3 wins. What it is unless you get voted, almost, not unanimously, but enough to be comfortably in that top 20, you need 2 votes and 3 wins to be able to be slotted in for those extra teams, 21, 22, 23.
Correct.
So if people would have had the Huskies high enough at like 18, 19, 20, they could have made it in that 2-6.
Right. So you got to have, unless you get voted into the top 20, you have to have 3 wins as a minimum to get voted in by 2 of the members of the committee.
Now, if you're finishing 21 or 22 in the voting, you would need 2 votes and 3 wins.
Right. So in that game, I was doing stats. I was filled in. It was a close game. Todd Fredrickson hit a 3 to tie it. They erupted on their side and it kind of peeked over there, and I just wasn't sure what the score was. Lamont then fouls Jim Marquardt on the other end with about 3 seconds left. Jim misses the first one, makes the second one. They inbound the ball, it gets tipped out of bounds. They get it at midcourt. Devin misses a 3 for the win. That ends the Huskies season.
Yes.
Officially. So UOENO gets another. Huskies may only have 1 win, but it's not
a terrible victory. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's not a terrible victory. I know that they haven't had a full squad since week 1. Right. Rowe left.
Right.
Devin got hurt. Devin was back this week.
No Helmy though, right?
But Helmy was gone.
Right.
Does he change the game enough to get a win? Likely.
Helmy, absolutely.
Likely. I don't know how the matchups were or what was going on.
Him and Todd actually played pretty well together.
Right. So it's likely that he would have made enough of a difference to make that game the Huskies' favor. I still think they probably would have been out, barring Casey Schonauer's sketchy voting.
Right. Casey's voting for 29 teams, regardless of how many wins.
They all get a vote. They all get a vote. So UOENO now has 4 wins. That'll put them between Players Club and UOENO. Who's going to have the higher seed there?
I think UOENO has. They have the head-to-head victory.
They do have the head-to-head victory.
So
however, they don't have as nice of a resume.
Right. It's not as good a resume, but they do have that. And I guess if you're going to compare the cluster, UOENO beat Players Club. The club beat Players Club, but the club beat UOENO.
Yeah, it's like the triangle.
So we'd have to have the club up here, maybe UOENO, and then it turns into head-to-head doesn't matter as much when it's such a cluster.
Right. So that kind of recaps Fridley's, I guess, moving up the ranks, up the seeds.
Teams that needed wins, just except for the Huskies, really played well tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, and then what happened at the end of the Avengers club game?
That was with 9 minutes left.
It was I want to say it was a 10-point game. It was a 10-point game. Yes. I want to say it was 34-44 with about 9-10 minutes left. Lorenzo Butler gets called for a intentional foul on Derek Batiste. He didn't think it was an intentional foul. He left the gym, came back, came into the gym, or came onto the court. I don't remember what caused him to explode.
He actually, on his way out the first time, said, used the F-bomb and the rich bomb, on his way out the first time, and then I think he circled back and continued the demonstrative behavior.
Then he came in, he picked up his 5th foul on a play.
Oh, you're talking about the very first?
The very first one we know.
Yes, very first one we know.
Okay, he got teed up for, he said, we're going to effing, run these guys out of the gym.
Right. Boom.
John told him not to say that. He said, I can say whatever I want to my team. John hit him with the technical. One of the quickest triggers we have besides Brad Rexdale.
Yeah.
And then that 5th foul came. He came back into the gym.
Yeah, my mistake. That was, the intentional was first.
Yeah, and then he got teed up for cussing out John Faison. Now, here's the thing. That got him ejected.
Correct.
However, he still continued to cuss John out. He told John to go F himself maybe 3 times. Told him he effing sucks 2 more times. Actually, maybe 3 more times. But he only got 5 out of the 6. He got 5 more techs.
Correct.
That got
4 assigned to the bench, 1 to him.
Right, 4 assigned to the bench, 1 to him, giving the Avengers 10 free throws. Noe steps to the free throw line, makes 8 of them. The club ended up cutting the lead down from 18 to about, I think it was 6.
I think they got within 6.
Within 6, so they essentially would have been up. Sure, the game changes because you guys are up 18 and you maybe take the foot off the gas a little bit, but
we put it in neutral.
What do you think, without those techs, did the Avengers still beat the club?
I think the Avengers still beat the club. I think they really rallied around the techs, the rest of the team. And they really wanted to beat us. They beat us last season thanks to my tip-in in the wrong group. I'll take all the blame. We had some turnovers and stuff before that, but ultimately it was my basket on a rebound, so I'll take the blame. Might have been my only basket of the game, by the way. But they really wanted to win, and I do think that drastically changed the game. I think it fired them up more and actually kind of brought us down to neutral. And they're a team that can turn on a dime. We're a slow rev, and they like, oh, it's getting close. They're really into it. So I still think we win, but
Noe struggled today controlling possession of the ball. He turned the ball over a few times, but he set the tone for you guys. He had a tough. Lorenzo Butler is a very good defender. He still got you guys going. Still a catalyst every week for you guys. I think him and Derek combined for 12 turnovers, which essentially catapulted the club back into the game. Right. Like you said, I think the game changes if it's a little bit closer during that time period.
We're missing Trey too, who does take a lot of pressure off on the ball handling side of things.
So let's highlight Lorenzo Butler, because I have a feeling this isn't going to go away in terms of his if he gets suspended. So there's been people in other states who've gotten suspended for a year for less.
Right.
Johnny Webb got suspended for a year. However, it wasn't his first offense.
Right.
For
the GFY.
For Bob Thomas, go after yourself to Bob Thomas, and he got suspended for a year.
Right.
Now, Lorenzo's
That's my point guard.
Yeah, keep it together. So Lorenzo's now a first offense guy.
Yeah.
What's his punishment? Or what should his punishment be? Reed?
Is it 1 offense or is it 5 offenses?
Well, technically but it's 1 explosion. Let's just say it's 1 offense. I mean, Allen and Reed are going to be sitting, in their castle, figuring out what to do.
Drawbridge up, of course. We're not getting in there. So, no thoughts, calls, anything.
So you're Allen.
Minimum 1 game.
Minimum 1 game.
Minimum 1 game, and here's why.
He got tossed.
He got tossed. So we'll say 2 games. He got tossed. That's 1 game.
Okay.
The second is he accumulated, even though 4 got assigned to the bench, he's accumulated 6 tees in 1 game.
Right.
Which also means another game.
Okay. And then he didn't necessarily leave in a timely fashion either. He kind of took his sweet old time. So if you're Adam Silver, Alan Arlt, Reed Nelson, Aaron Wimsett, who probably isn't making any decision, let's be honest.
Where is
Sorry,
it?
Aaron.
Honeymoon?
What do you call? What do you give him?
Out for the playoffs.
Out for the playoffs. That's a fair punishment. I think that's a good punishment. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
I mean, max they're getting 2 games anyway, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding, club.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the issue. I think telling an employee to go F himself, it hasn't bode well for anybody in the past.
No.
It'll be interesting to see what Reed and Allen do. Allen really likes to protect the staff.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling he's going to come down with a little bit harsher punishment.
Yeah, I could see him being out summer season, to be perfectly honest with you. I think you have to set the precedence that you respect your staff and you support your staff. And you can't have your employees showing up to work and getting verbally abused.
Yep.
And there was a point in time where he kind of charged after him too, and I thought, and John just turned his shoulder and walked away.
Yeah.
There was a brief moment where I thought things might get physical too, because it continued to escalate for a while.
And I'll be honest, John's one of those guys where he doesn't put up with anything.
No.
But at the same time,
The first tee is a warning.
Right, but John's kind of a smartass in his own way. He doesn't cuss back. However, he says some smartass things that most refs don't. Brad Rex, that's another guy that will talk back to you in a smartass fashion. Wes Hill's another guy like that. Does that... How much blame goes on John for talking
Here's
to Lorenzo?
Here's the deal. John has two triggers. You don't swear at him, and you don't tell him he's doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
If you avoid that, you can talk, you can have a dialogue with officials. Brad's the same way. If you want to argue a call, if you want to say, what did you see here? Hey, I saw this, he shoved me in the back, what are you doing? That's all fine, but don't tell him he's terrible, and don't swear at him, and you're going to be all right.
Right.
And don't question his integrity.
Right.
There was a Bulls game a couple seasons ago where I'm on the bench, and Kavarian drove to the lane and put up a uncontested shot, and we got a foul call. And I go, don't worry, guys, that was a makeup call. And John heard me from the other side of the court and walked down and said, boom, Briggs. And he said, you questioned my integrity. And I absolutely did, to imply that he would make a makeup call. He thought I was to the point where I thought he did something wrong, so he was going to clearly go against the game to give one back to him.
Yep.
So it's pretty simple. You treat people with respect.
Yep.
And
yeah, here's the thing. If I'm a ref, I wouldn't put up.
If I'm a ref, I'm John Faison, and you guys are all out.
There was, they should have had 4 techs in the first 5 minutes. So they had about 25 foul calls against them in that game. They complained about
every single one,
all of them. So the refs essentially did not make a good call the entire game. Now you gotta.
It was the money factor. If Money misses a shot, he was fouled.
Well, Money was.
I know, but I mean, that's spread the team. Now he's gone. And Money's a great player, but he does complain after every missed shot.
Right, and this happens a lot in Fridley. What teams really need to realize is, well, the GM needs to control his team. Right. The problem is with the club, Adam is a guy that doesn't keep his cool either.
I thought he was the biggest hothead on the team. Turns out he's second.
He's second. Lorenzo kind of took that cake. But these teams got to start picking and choosing when they complain about a call. It may be close, but just wait for your time. And when you talk, Lorenzo got called for 3 of his 5 fouls. He took his jersey off and left the gym, only to come back 30 seconds later. Just keep it together and then pick your time.
The very first foul of the game, Noe's bringing the ball up, and Lorenzo's got his forearm right on him, and they call a foul, and both him and Adam freak out.
Yeah.
It's a foul.
Yeah.
You're trying to maneuver a guy, you're pushing a guy with your forearm. I'm sorry, Noe doesn't weigh a lot, I get that, but a foul is a foul.
Yeah.
It's just sad. I had 3 fouls in the first half, and I complain about one of them, but again, what am I going to do? It's not like they were calling it differently. We just weren't reaching every play.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we beat it with the dead beat a dead horse.
Those are awful games to play in, by the way.
They're awful. The games that do stats, they're awful. I mean, it's horrendous. I mean, the club is historically one of the worst teams.
They're the Fridley Big Smash. I just can't. I don't even want to be involved in it.
It's tough. But they got talent. Once they put it together, if they ever kept their cool, they can. Without Lorenzo in the playoffs, potentially
10 years from now, when Adam turns 25, and he really calms down, you watch out for that team.
Yeah, no, they
I'll be in a wheelchair by then, but all right. Well, no, don't call me for traveling.
Right. So we're getting a little long. Let's cut to the chase here. Let's go with your 3 questions to wrap it up.
These are terrible.
We want to hear 'em.
But number one, you, the audience, what do you think about player and official conduct? I mean, obviously tonight was a bad example, or a great example of how not to treat an official. But what kind of vibe going back and forth, what kind of talking, what do you think is okay, and what do you think is crossing the line? Because I still think there's some guys in the club who don't think what happened tonight was crossing the line.
Yes, and yeah, you can pretty much tell who they are. I think there's 3 guys, and
Right.
based on the roster, you can pretty much figure out who
Right.
was off put by
Right.
the actions of their teammates.
Right. Number 2, are the Huskies the best team of the last maybe 2 years, 3 years to miss the playoffs? And I mean, we could just be going by roster, but again, they've played tough with a lot of teams, so they could be. And number 3, I don't know if people saw Reed Nelson last night. Is that the worst beard in Ultimate Hoops history? You see how yours comes in nice and full here? Reed had a hair here, a hair here, a hair here, and then about 6 down here. And he said it was laziness. I really think Sheila wants him to have a beard, and was just hoping he could be that big, brawny, burly, like lumberjack of a man. I'm sorry, he's not there. So is that the worst one in history, or I mean, there's
Paul Pierce still gets my worst beard, but it's Reed and Paul Pierce are right up.
he hasn't played here yet.
In Ultimate Hoops history, you said history.
Oh, sorry. Dustin DuPont, if he grew a beard, would also be awful. I just know that.
No, he comes in full.
Really?
Yeah. Dustin, I got you.
Okay. Well, I still hate you, Dustin, but
Good. Any other thoughts for the night?
I don't. I get Players Club and Atlantis both proved me wrong tonight. Both great wins. So keep it up in the playoffs.
Sounds good.
It's a pleasure doing this with you.
Yeah, it was
you're so
fun.
much more talkative than those other 2 guys who just stand there. Especially Reed. Aaron is jovial and happy to be there, and Reed just stares off in the distance. So
He's a professional.
Yeah.
He tries to be professional.
yeah, he's too busy thinking about his new Target gig. So
All right, we'll see you guys next
see
week.
ya.